The dark side of cruise ships, truth versus myths. Every year, millions of people cruise without incident. But the headlines tell a different story. Mysterious disappearances, viral outbreaks, violent crimes, and deadly accidents. The FBI received 180 reports of criminal activity on cruise ships in 2023 alone. Some stories are blown out of proportion by sensationalist media. Others are very real problems the industry would rather you forget. Today, I'm separating fact from fiction to give you the honest truth about cruise ship safety and what really happens when things go wrong at sea. The crime statistics reality check. Let's start with the numbers, because the truth is both better and worse than you might expect. Despite the vast numbers, the odds of dying on a cruise ship are roughly 1 in 6.25 million. It's much more dangerous to drive to the cruise port, where the odds of dying in a car crash are about 1 in 645. But here's where it gets complicated. The FBI received 180 reports of alleged criminal activity on board cruises in 2023, from thefts to missing persons cases. According to both FBI agents, sexual assaults topped the list of cruise ship crime reports, followed by physical assaults. From January to March 2025, there were 48 crimes on cruise ships reported to the FBI. This marks the highest three-month period of crimes reported on cruise ships since April to June 2023, when the FBI counted 55 incidents. The reality is that cruise ships are floating cities with thousands of people, alcohol flowing freely, and limited law enforcement. Crime happens, but it's often underreported because many incidents occur in international waters where jurisdiction gets murky. The #1 reported crime is sexual assault. This isn't a myth or media exaggeration. It's a documented pattern that cruise lines have been forced to address through federal legislation. The Man Overboard Mystery. Nothing captures public attention like stories of passengers vanishing at sea. A report indicated 300 people falling overboard since 2005. But the circumstances behind these incidents reveal a more complex story than simple accidents. Most man overboard cases aren't mysterious disappearances. They're tragic accidents involving alcohol, reckless behavior, or deliberate acts. Passengers climbing on railings for photos, leaning too far over balconies, or making poor decisions after drinking heavily. But some cases are genuinely mysterious. Passengers who disappear from their cabins with no witnesses, no security footage, and no explanation. The cruise lines are required to report these incidents, but investigations in international waters face significant challenges. The truth is somewhere between the conspiracy theories and the cruise line's reassurances. Most overboard incidents are preventable accidents, but the investigation and response systems have serious limitations that leave families without answers. What's not a myth? Cruise ships don't always stop immediately when someone goes overboard. Search and rescue operations in the middle of the ocean, especially at night, have very low success rates even when they begin quickly. The Norovirus Nightmare. If you've cruised enough, you've probably experienced the dreaded stomach bug outbreak. The numbers are sobering. 2024 was the worst year for gastrointestinal outbreaks on cruise ships in over a decade, thanks to a surge in norovirus. Last year, there were 16 outbreaks on cruise ships, from norovirus, salmonella, E. coli, or other unidentified pathogens that cause gastrointestinal symptoms. That's the largest number of cruise ship outbreaks in 12 years. But here's what the cruise lines don't tell you in their marketing. Annually, less than 1% of all cruise ship passengers have been affected by norovirus. The vast majority of outbreaks are small, affecting a tiny percentage of passengers. Recent outbreaks paint a more concerning picture. More than 240 people on board the luxury Queen Mary, 2 cruise ship fell ill with norovirus during a 4-week voyage. Over 140 passengers and crew members aboard Royal Caribbean's Navigator of the Seas were sickened by a gastrointestinal illness. The truth about norovirus is that cruise ships aren't inherently more dangerous than other places where large groups gather. Schools, hospitals, and restaurants all experience outbreaks. But the closed environment of a ship means outbreaks can spread faster and affect more people before they're contained. Safety standards versus reality. The cruise industry operates under complex international maritime laws, and safety standards vary significantly depending on the ship's flag state. This creates a patchwork of regulations that can leave passengers vulnerable. The Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act, CVSSA, of 2010 prescribes security and safety requirements for most cruise ships that embark and disembark in the United States. This law was passed after years of lobbying by families of cruise crime victims who felt the industry wasn't taking safety seriously enough. But here's the reality. Enforcement is limited. Once ships enter international waters, they're subject to the laws of their flag country, not the country where passengers boarded. Many cruise ships are registered in countries with less stringent safety and labor regulations. The safety equipment and training are generally excellent. Modern cruise ships have sophisticated fire suppression systems, advanced navigation technology, and well-trained crews. The engineering that keeps these floating cities operational is genuinely impressive. Where the system breaks down is in security, crime prevention, and investigation. Ship security personnel aren't law enforcement officers. They can't arrest people or conduct criminal investigations. When serious crimes occur, ships often have to wait until reaching port to involve proper authorities. The medical emergency reality. Getting sick or injured on a cruise ship isn't like having an emergency on land. While cruise ships carry medical facilities and staff, they're not full hospitals, and the level of care varies dramatically between cruise lines and ships. Most ships have basic medical facilities that can handle routine injuries, seasickness, and minor illnesses. They can stabilize patients and provide basic emergency care. But serious medical emergencies often require evacuation, which can be expensive, complicated, and sometimes impossible. Medical evacuations from cruise ships can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and they're not always covered by travel insurance. If the ship is more than a few hundred miles from port, helicopter evacuation isn't possible, and patients must wait for the ship to reach port or rendezvous with another vessel. The medical staff on cruise ships aren't necessarily qualified to practice medicine in the United States. They may be excellent doctors from other countries, but their credentials and training standards vary. Some cruise lines maintain higher medical standards than others. What's not a myth? People do die on cruise ships from medical emergencies that might have been survivable on land. The isolation and limited medical resources create real risks that healthy passengers rarely consider. The employee treatment problem. Behind the polished service and smiling faces, cruise ship employees often work under conditions that would be illegal in most developed countries. The majority of cruise ship workers come from developing countries and work contracts that last 6 to 10 months without days off. Crew members typically work 10 to 16-hour days, 7 days a week for months at a time. They live in tiny shared cabins below the passenger decks, often with limited access to natural light or fresh air. Pay can be extremely low by Western standards, though it may be good money compared to opportunities in their home countries. This isn't just an ethical issue, it affects passenger safety. Overworked, underpaid crews may cut corners on safety procedures, maintenance, or service standards. Fatigue among crew members handling safety-critical functions can create real risks. The treatment of crew members also affects crime reporting and investigation. Crew members who witness crimes or safety violations may be reluctant to report them if they fear retaliation or losing their jobs. Labor standards on cruise ships are governed by international maritime law and the ship's flag state, which often have much weaker worker protection than the countries where passengers live. Environmental impact truth. The environmental impact of cruise ships is massive and largely hidden from passengers. A single large cruise ship produces as much pollution as thousands of cars, but most of this happens out of sight in the middle of the ocean. Cruise ships generate enormous amounts of sewage, gray water from showers and laundry, and solid waste. While newer ships have better treatment systems, older ships may discharge poorly treated waste directly into the ocean. The fuel consumption is staggering. Large cruise ships burn hundreds of gallons of fuel per hour, contributing significantly to air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. The heavy fuel oil many ships burn is among the dirtiest fossil fuels available. Cruise ships also damage marine ecosystems through ballast water discharge, underwater noise pollution, and physical damage to coral reefs and marine habitats from anchoring and construction of private ports. The industry has made improvements in recent years, with newer ships using cleaner fuels and better waste treatment systems. But the scale of the environmental impact remains enormous, and much of the progress is offset by the rapid growth in cruise ship size and passenger numbers. Separating myths from reality. After examining the evidence, what should potential cruisers actually worry about? The biggest real risks aren't the dramatic headlines, but the mundane realities of traveling in a closed environment with thousands of strangers. Myth. Cruise ships are death traps where people regularly disappear or die mysteriously. Reality. Cruise ships are statistically very safe, but crime and accidents do occur, and investigation and response systems have significant limitations. Myth. Norovirus outbreaks are inevitable and affect everyone on the ship. Reality. Outbreaks happen, but they typically affect a small percentage of passengers, and ships have protocols to contain them. Myth. All cruise ship medical emergencies result in death because of inadequate care. Reality. Most medical issues are handled well, but serious emergencies face real challenges due to isolation and limited resources. The truth is that cruising involves trade-offs. You're accepting some risks in exchange for the convenience, value, and experience of visiting multiple destinations from a floating resort. Most cruisers never experience any serious problems, but the risks are real and worth understanding. What's not a myth? Cruise lines are businesses first, and they have financial incentives to minimize negative publicity and legal liability. They're not always transparent about risks and problems. The best approach is understanding the real risks, taking reasonable precautions, and making informed decisions about whether cruising is right for you. Don't let fear-mongering keep you from cruising if you want to try it, but don't ignore legitimate safety concerns either. What surprised you most about the reality of cruise ship safety? Have you experienced any of these issues firsthand? Share your experiences in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more honest cruise industry analysis. Thanks for watching, and may your cruises be safe and your adventures be amazing.